I've been really excited to get to this point of telling my Kundalini story because this is the main event. This is the craziest part of my entire awakening. I do have to give a little bit of a backstory before I get into the actual crown chakra experience that I had. It was a death experience. In my last videos, I was talking about my Kundalini rising that happened in 2022, and this is a continue of that. But just know that I actually didn't clear my crown chakra officially until 1 year after my Kundalini awakening. And I'll explain why. When Kundalini entered my crown chakra for the first time, I was home alone with my daughter, and she was 4 years old at the time. I knew that there's no way that I can go through this while I'm home alone with my daughter, because I don't know what's going to happen to me. And if I'm incapable of taking care of her, that's a big problem. I started to feel a lot of pressure in my head and in my whole body. And I kind of felt like I was going to pass out, very, very lightheaded, way too much pressure in my head. And so I sat on the couch and my daughter's running around playing. I started to get a tingling in my feet and in my legs, and they started to feel really heavy. Then they started to vibrate. And I'm like, what is happening to me? They got so heavy I couldn't move them. And this tingling was like moving up my body very slowly. So I start to panic because I'm realizing that my legs are paralyzed. I can't move my legs. I can't move my feet. And pretty soon I'm not going to be able to move my body. I called my sister and she's like, I'm too far away from you. You need to call an ambulance. It's okay to call an ambulance, you know. Thank God for my insurance. So I did. I called an ambulance. I put them on speaker and the paralysis is now moving up my body. I'm honestly freaking out. Like it was painful. It wasn't just me being paralyzed. It was a lot of pressure in my head and in my body. And I started to feel like I was being, this is going to sound messed up, but it's true. I started to feel like I was being ripped apart, like from the inside out. It was really uncomfortable and it really hurt. Well, it took them a while to get to me. Eventually, the paralyzation started to go away and I was able to move my fingers and then my hands. I get a knock on my door and it's the cop because they sent a cop first. And I was able to get up and answer my door and kind of explain to him like what was happening to me. And then the ambulance show up and they're monitoring me. They said my heart rate and my blood pressure kept skyrocketing and going up really, really, really high and then dropping really, really low. And it was kind of weird to them because they're like, that's weird. We don't know what happened to you, but that's weird. And they were really, really sweet and nice. And they stayed with me for a while. And the cop was like babysitting my daughter. She loved it. She was having the time of her life. She's like, yay, a cop's at our house. This is so exciting. Like she wanted him to come back. She kept talking about it later on. But yeah, so I had to sign papers saying that I didn't want to go to the hospital. And I'm like, it's okay. I think I just had a panic attack or something. And that was that. But afterwards, I felt like, once again, I'm going to use psychedelics as a way to describe it. I felt like I was on Molly for like 2 days. And I knew, I'm like, I did not surrender to that at all. That was not the crown chakra experience. And I know I'm going to have to go through it again. I know I'm going to have to clear my crown chakra someday. But today is not the day because I'm not doing that when I'm home alone with my daughter. It's not happening. So I actually fought it off and I didn't have to do that because it wasn't the right time. That actually was the ending of my Kundalini awakening for a whole year before it came back. Because it did, after 1 whole year. And at this point, my twin flame and I, we were not talking. He moved to a different state for a whole year. I went through my dark night of the soul. I felt disconnected from spirit. I was angry at the universe for making me go through that. And it felt like, for what? Like, why did I have to do that? I understand I was purging trauma, but that almost was traumatic in itself. So that makes no sense. And, you know, I got a job. I just tried to do normal human stuff. I wasn't connected to spirit at all. A year from then, we're going to fast forward. I one day started to shake again. And it was summer again. So thankfully, I always went through my Kundalini awakening shit in summer because I don't know. I like it because I get to connect with nature more and everything's alive and stuff. But yeah, it's summertime again. And I just started shaking and I'm like, why do I feel Kundalini energy coming through me? And then, I was at work one day. This is when things start to really pick up again. So I'm at work one day and I'm driving to a new job site. I'm in like traffic. It's construction. There's traffic. There's nowhere to pull over. And I get this rush of energy throughout my body as I'm driving. And I start to feel the tingling in my feet and my legs. And I'm like, no, this is not happening right now. I am driving. Is God trying to kill me? I'm driving. If I get paralyzed, what am I going to do? There's nowhere to pull over. Like, the best I could do is turn on my emergency lights and just get paralyzed in the middle of a construction zone, I guess. Well, eventually I was able to make it out of the construction zone. I'm barely able to push on the pedals because I'm losing feeling in my feet and my legs. And I pull over on a busy highway and I quickly FaceTime my mom. I turn on my emergency lights. And I'm like, Mom, it's happening again. I'm getting paralyzed again. And I start panicking. And, it was pretty uncomfortable because I haven't had this happen to me for a whole year. And I've only gone through it once prior. So why is this happening to me right now? Are you kidding me? I was stuck like that for like 5 to 10 minutes. I don't know. And when I would get paralyzed sometimes, not every time, and I'll tell you, I got paralyzed a lot. I would cry. I would like burst out crying. And what I realized was when I would get paralyzed, it was like a purification process. It almost felt like my DNA was being purified. And I don't know why I had to get paralyzed to experience that. I don't really understand it fully, but that's kind of the conclusion I've came to and what it felt like. After I would get paralyzed, I wouldn't feel great. I would feel like nauseous and sick and feel kind of like I'm on psychedelics. And I was like, I just need to go home. So I told my job that I threw up. I was like, I threw up, gotta go. And I go home and I just spend a lot of time outside confused as to why this is happening again. And I'm like, why now? Like, okay, great. Not excited. Not excited for it, honestly. But I knew one day I was going to have to clear my crown chakra. So I was like, okay, well, I knew it was going to come back one day. So here we are. At this point, I was having quite a few Kundalini symptoms, not too severe, just shaking and purging a little bit and being uncomfortable. So I was like, I just need to go connect with nature. I'll be happy if I'm outside. And my mom suggested that we go paddleboarding, which I love doing. I had this feeling that I should call my sister and have her go with us. I was like, I don't know why, but I just feel like she needs to come with me. So I called her and she drove out and she went paddleboarding with us. So it was me, my mom, my daughter, who is now 5, and my sister. We get our paddle boards in the water, and mind you, this is on a reservoir, so it takes over an hour, maybe 2 hours to get back to our car. We were maybe like 5-10 minutes in. I don't know. That's what it felt like. We weren't that far in, and I'm ahead of everyone on my paddle board, and my sister and my daughter are behind me, and then my mom's in the back. I'm listening to a Post Malone song because I bring my speaker out. And I was singing, I don't remember what the song is called, but I was singing along to this Post Malone song. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if my singing activated something, but it seemed like it did. It was really weird because I'm not really a singer. I'm not good at singing, but somehow my voice, like my throat chakra, was being activated in that moment. It was really weird. Suddenly I get that rush of energy and I feel like I'm going to pass out. And I'm like, uh-oh, don't tell me. And then I start to feel the tingling in my feet and in my legs. And it is moving fast, faster than usual. Usually it took a little while before I got paralyzed, but it was moving up my body so fast. And I started to panic. And I called on my family. I was like, it's happening again. Like, please come here. It's happening. I'm going to get paralyzed on a paddleboard. This cannot be happening to me. No, no, no. My sister comes up first and she connects her paddleboard to mine. She's on the right of me. And then my mom comes up and she connects her paddleboard to mine on the left side. And I get paralyzed. But this time was so different. It was so much more intense. I was like, this is way worse than last time or the time before that. This is so bad. I forgot to mention that when I would get paralyzed, my hands would go into mudras. It happened every single time. I hope I'm saying that word right. So I'm fully paralyzed and now I feel this rise in my body. Usually when I would get paralyzed, I would feel really heavy. But that shifted and I started to feel weightless and I was vibrating. My whole body was vibrating at a very, very high frequency. And I thought I was going to levitate. My arms went out in a crucifix. They did. I looked like Jesus. That's what it reminded me of. And it was like a full surrender pose. And I have no control over this. I am like, it looks insane. And this is happening in front of my family and my daughter as I'm floating down a river on a very beautiful day. And I was convinced I was going to die. I was like, Mom, I'm going to die. I'm dying. My poor daughter, I really hate that she had to see that, but I really did think I was going to die. The pressure in my head was insane. Kundalini was so loud in my head, it sounded like a train. It sounded like a train was going through my head. It was so loud. And I was convinced that my family would be able to feel that I am vibrating. So I made them touch my skin. I'm like, can you feel that? And they're like, no. But I'm like, okay, well, I'm vibrating. And I thought I was going to levitate. And I was like, Mom, I'm going to levitate. Mom, grab onto me. And she's like, honey, if you levitated, I would be amazed. And I'm like, no, I'm going to float away. Like, I'm going to float. Like, looking back, it's funny, but I was freaking out. And I started to feel more pressure in my head. And I remember looking at my sister in the eyes. And I'm like, I'm about to die. I can feel it. I'm going to die. This is it. I'm so sorry to my family. Like, I'm going to have to die in front of them. And I look my sister in the eyes and I remember my eyes starting to roll into the back of my head. And I basically lost consciousness almost. Not really. Like, I don't know how to describe it. And I felt this electric current zap through my body. And I flopped over onto my sister's paddleboard. And that was the death experience. It felt like electricity. And it was, it's undescribable. It was so intense and powerful. So powerful. I couldn't move. I can't open my eyes. I can't talk. But I'm super aware. And this is when I experienced God. Okay, this is when I felt God. And this is just what happened to me. I don't want to go against anybody's religious beliefs. This is just what happened. But I realized, I'm like, whoa, I feel God. And I have no ego now. It's gone. All I feel is immense love. And we're floating down this reservoir. My mom is making sure our paddles aren't hitting the rock wall. And my daughter and my sister are comforting me. They're, touching my hair, saying you're going to be okay. My sister's like, when you wake up, don't freak out because you're going to tip the paddleboard, okay? And everyone was so peaceful, so calm, so loving. And I realized that I felt God everywhere. God was the water holding up our paddle boards. God was in the sky, in the trees, in the rocks, in the dirt. God was within me. God was within my family. And I felt the essence of their soul. I know that sounds weird. I could just see what everything was, if that makes sense. The true essence of everybody and everything. And all that true essence was God and was love. It was insane. It was beautiful. And I was able to finally open my eyes after having a while of just feeling this love and having this realization. I was able to talk finally. And my sister made a joke about my hands. I don't know if she made a Naruto joke or something. I remember her making a joke. And I started laughing. And now I feel like I'm on mushrooms, okay? Everything is hilarious. Like, I just basically died. Not literally, but I just experienced what death is like without having to die. How crazy is that? And whoa, is everything around me so beautiful. Whoa. And I'm like, I love Earth, first of all. Whoa, this place is so cool. And I just felt nothing but love. I had no ego. And eventually I was able to kind of wiggle around and move and get up. And I had so much energy suddenly. And we stopped. I have photos on my phone of this day, so I'll put them in if I can to give you a visual of where I was when this happened. We stopped at like a sandbar and kind of ran around and had fun for a while after I literally just went through that. Yeah. My family was probably kind of used to it at this point because they saw me go through a lot of crap with my Kundalini awakening. So they're like, she's just having issues again. I'm so grateful that I actually had that experience that day. If that happened to me while I was home alone with my daughter, that would have been so bad. So I'm very, very grateful that it happened the way it did. And that just goes to show that things really do happen for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. And I was in the perfect place. I was on a paddleboard floating down a river. That's insane. Of course that would happen to me. Then I started to feel sick, and I would have to go to the bathroom a lot because my body just went through a pretty traumatic, intense experience. So every island we stopped at, I would have to go to the bathroom. And at this point, the energy rush I had went away, and I would have to have my family tow me because there's no way I could paddle at this point. I was kind of going through a wave of emotions. I would have like rushes of energy. Then I would feel like I'm, gonna pass out, and I would need someone to help me like paddle. At this point, I just wanted off that damn paddleboard. I'm like, where is the ground? Give me the ground. I need to ground myself literally because I just want off this paddleboard. I'm over it. I just went through some crazy ass experience, and I just want to get home. Like, I felt like I was on mushrooms, and it was a lot. Eventually I made it home, and I honestly don't even remember anything else after that. I don't remember how I felt when I was home. I don't remember any of it. I just remember not having an ego for the rest of the day. I did forget to mention that after my crown chakra experience, I did get paralyzed as Kundalini was going down my body. So with each chakra that it hit, I would get paralyzed. And the paralyzations got less and less intense as it went down. And I've been normal ever since, but not actually normal because it did change my life. But I haven't had to deal with any Kundalini issues, thankfully, especially because I have a baby to take care of on top of my 6-year-old. So that was my crown chakra experience. It was more intense than I could have ever imagined it was going to be, but I'm very grateful for it. And I really hope I don't have to go through it again because that was just a little too much craziness for me. The old me died that day. It was intense, but I made it through. And if you're going through Kundalini awakening, you will make it through, I promise. Okay? Anyway, thank you for listening to that, and I will see you in my next video.